Don Merrell recalls when everything was going his way. He had a successful business as a glassblower, a wife, children, and supportive parents. Then, without warning, his whole world started to fall apart.
I lost a home that I owned. I had a business fail. My marriage failed. My father died, and my world has kind of crumbled around my ears.
Don was forced to reevaluate his life. He had 4 children to raise on his own. He needed help and began watching the 700 Club for inspiration and comfort. And then one evening, he decided he'd turn to God for help.
I remember sitting in my car in the middle of this parking lot late at night by myself and just looking up to the sky and just asking the Lord, said, Lord, you know, you've got to do this for me. I can't do it anymore. I just, all of the things that I've tried just aren't working. That's just not going to happen. And at that point is when I really gave my life to the Lord.
Afterwards, Don's life began to gradually improve. He met Caroline, a Christian woman. They married, and she began taking care of the children while Don went to work on his new job. After his conversion, Don seemed to have a new outlook towards life. A new job, a new wife, a new lease on life. It seemed that Don had the world in the palm of his hand. But all of that changed on this road one day, because one day while running some errands around town, Don was involved in a tragic head-on collision. He was thrown against the firewall of the car and against the dashboard and front window. He sustained a number of injuries, and judging from the look of his car, he was lucky to be alive.
He had a number of open injuries. He had multiple lacerations, which are large, which in his case were very large. These are cuts exposing bone around his legs. Both the left and the right leg had bone exposed. The left leg had several severe fractures, one of which I have here on an x-ray, in which the left thigh bone was fractured, and the left tibia, the shin bone below the knee, was also fractured in multiple fragments.
Don would have to undergo reconstructive surgery on his left leg where he received most of his injuries. It would take 16 weeks for his leg to heal and a year before he could return to work. It wasn't good news for a man who owns a business and has a family to support. But despite such news, Don and Caroline kept the faith.
The doctors just hit me with all this news of, 6 months in the hospital, a year rehabilitation, and all I could think of is, well, a year, what are we going to do? And but just at that time, I really felt like the Lord's hands just enveloped us as a family, and I really couldn't panic. I knew that he would be all right.
Caroline and a few friends prayed with Don at the hospital. They prayed that Don's badly injured leg would heal quickly. And 2 days later, prior to Don undergoing surgery, Don revealed something amazing to his doctor.
And I said, Paul, my leg is healed. And he turned and looked at me and he said, what are you talking about? And I started moving these weights, and his eyes got big and he said, that doesn't hurt. And I said, no, there's no pain at all. So he reached across the bed and picked up the telephone. He called X-ray. He said, I want a picture of this leg tonight. And they came down with the portable X-ray equipment about 11:30 that night. And Paul walked into my room at 8 o'clock the next morning, and he said, Don, he said, I don't know what's going on. He said, there's been a phenomenal amount of healing. He said, there's no need for surgery. He said, there's new bone around every fragment and piece of splinter in that leg.
My reaction was, Don, I don't think your thigh bone is going to heal before 12 weeks. Now, that's the quote we had put on it originally when he came in. A thigh will heal a little faster than a shin bone, usually. And at 4.5 weeks, being well in advance of that time, I was quite amazed to find that it was very solid. And I could not feel the bone moving. It did not cause him any pain when I moved it around. He could literally take his leg and raise his leg up off the bed with full control.
Dr. Kropp was amazed by Don's healing, but Don and Caroline were overjoyed.
And I just laid there and the tears rolled down my face, and I said, praise you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
We knew that something was happening, and I was kind of expecting it any day. Every day I went in the hospital, I said, well, how do you feel today? And when he said, my leg is healed, and he started moving it up and down, I just got real excited.
Don is getting full use out of his leg as he plays regularly with his children. He's back to work at his glassblowing business. And he says the real miracle in his life is not just his healing, but it's also the faith that God has given him to endure all things. From Virginia Beach for the 700 Club, I'm Kelly Wright.